Thanks for this, by the way. Appreciate the opportunity. Uh, with with just over 100 days now since you've been in the position, Linda, how's it gone for you?
Well, we've gotten a lot done. My focus is to raise the bar within the organization and improve the credibility of the organization externally. So I think we've made good progress on both.
Okay. How is it that you're addressing the Sunset Commission recommendations?
Well, we've done a great deal in addressing the Sunset audit recommendations. First, we've increased transparency dramatically. We are the first transit system in the state to put all of our expenses online, so you can go online and see every dime we spend. We had more input than ever in the budget process. We've eliminated free fares. We've changed a lot of Metro access policies to save money. So we've done quite a bit already that address those recommendations.
How do you reconcile some of the recommendations and some of the services that those recommendations have I guess, suggested that you eliminate from the Capital Metro plan and policy with serving the people who had been clients of those services? How do you pull all that together?
Well, our board of directors made some very difficult business decisions that do allow us to operate more efficiently, to save money. There is an impact on the customers, so we did an extensive input process, lots of public hearings and public meetings to get our customer input. And also they created a transportation needs fund and seeded it with $250,000 in funding that can be used to kind of bridge the gap for people who were used to riding the service free and now have to pay for it, so that there's a bridge there to help people transition to the new service. So I thought that was a good business decision done with compassion that really took into consideration our customers' needs.
Can you give us an example of a service that I guess the recommendations suggested doing away with, and one that came in to supplant it or replace it or even improve upon it?
Well, for example, we are changing the eligibility process or the certification process for customers getting certified to ride Metro Access. Metro Access is door-to-door service, and it's very expensive to operate. And what we're doing is recertifying everybody in our current ridership base, and there may be people we find that are no longer eligible to ride that service, and they will be required to ride the fixed route bus service instead. So that would be a dramatic savings to us when we expect to find cases like that.
In the instances where, with the upcoming service changes in January, instances where a route is being changed and with a 3/4 of a mile service area boundary, how does the agency address someone who is in a lease and whose lease is not up for another year, but that route is changing and they're still dependent on Capital Metro? What do you do in that situation?
Well, we're implementing a time period for people in just that instance where they have a long-term lease. We will allow them to continue riding the service and slowly make that change. So we're looking at individuals on a case-by-case basis and being compassionate and sensitive to their particular situations when we can.
Okay. Are there any system issues that you've noticed in the time that you've been with the agency so far that you've brought up to staff and maybe could do better?
I've been looking very closely, doing an analysis internally, and what I found is, first of all, we've got a tremendous amount of talent in the organization, but we don't necessarily have the business practices that I would like to see. So we have implemented a series of changes where we're holding people accountable, looking at performance measures and timelines and measuring and evaluating our performance a lot more closely than we have been. So that's one example.
Okay. I want to touch on this. Have you had a chance to ride the bus system and Metro Rail?
Yes, I've ridden both. I have ridden the bus to work and also when I have meetings downtown and other places. So I've ridden the bus quite a bit. I have ridden the rail system. I don't live on the rail system, so I just rode it to be able to see the experience from our customer's viewpoint. And it was interesting. One of my trips, I sat right next to a man who had ridden it for the first time and the rail service and said, "I'm sold. This is it. I really like it. I'm going to use it a lot more."
Did you play this the covert way? Did you introduce yourself as the CEO of the company that runs this thing, or did you just see what his reaction was going to be?
He definitely knew that I was the CEO. So, but I've also met other people. Actually, a former news anchor whose car was in the shop and took the rail into downtown, and said he loved it. He was surprised it was so nice and such a smooth ride and convenient.
What did you think of it when you got on it?
I thought it was great. It's a beautiful rail car. The service operates very smoothly. I saw people in there working on their computers, and we now have connections that are much better for the last mile, if you will, of service. So it operates really well.
When you say last mile of service, what does that mean?
Well, when people get off the train at their train stop, we now have buses there that will connect them to the various locations. For instance, downtown, the bus directly serves the major employers. So if you don't want to walk to your final destination, the bus is there, it's well marked, and that's not something we've had in place from the very beginning, so we're hoping that will help attract new riders.
Right, right. There's been an effort recently to increase ridership with door hangers, with promotional tickets, with fare passes, that sort of thing. Do you see this as being just one step in a multi-pronged approach to get people interested in the rail line?
I do. We did start out with door-to-door promotions along the rail corridor. We're also meeting with major employers downtown. I'm personally meeting with CEOs of companies and asking them to commit to have our employees come in and share information about riding the rail with them and promoting it within their organizations. And by far the interest in helping us and supporting us do that has been very, very strong. So we're not only marketing to individuals but also to businesses. We will be adding midday service in January. We've improved or in some cases implemented bus service connections at the stations. We're working with Car2Go to have a joint promotion sometime after the first of the year with discounts for both agencies and also a convenience factor built in. And I'm hoping that it pays off in increased ridership.
What can you tell someone who doesn't live directly on the rail line, who lives a mile, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles away from their nearest connection, with getting onto a Capital Metro bus, a connection, then getting to the rail line, then having to use yet another bus? Isn't that a little excessive with having to use so much transit just to use the rail?
Well, for example, if you live in Leander, you can drive to the park and ride lot. It is a beautiful, safe facility. Park your car there, get on the rail, and go directly downtown. It is a far, far drive for people who live that far out, and just the savings alone on gasoline, let alone wear and tear on your car, the stress levels, the safety factors. So it can be very convenient. The further out stations have park and ride facilities, so you can literally drive your car there, park, lock it up, get on the train, and make it to your final destination.
There's been some criticism recently about the rail line, about the numbers, about the lagging ridership. Do you think all that's going to change if and when gas prices reach $4 a gallon again?
I think with some changes, or my hope is that the changes will improve ridership. There were a lot of assumptions made when the rail line was planned that haven't fallen into place, like midday ridership, which or midday service, which we're just now implementing. Also, we don't have the level of service out there, the frequencies that we had anticipated initially. Transit-oriented development hasn't happened as we had or as was planned initially. So I'm thinking as we do more things that were planned when initial projections were made, that ridership will increase on the line.
And what impact do you have, or do you feel that gas prices will have on that?
Gas prices, parking prices downtown always have a big impact on transit ridership, so I would expect that would be the case for both bus and rail service.
One more category I wanted to ask you about. Urban rail, the debate is picking up, the political support at City Hall, it's getting more support there. In 2 years, in the event that voters pass a referendum on the ballot, is this agency interested in operating an urban rail line from Euler to the airport?
Well, we have just started conversations between Capital Metro and the City of Austin, and we are discussing the role that Capital Metro would play in this new project. So we've started discussions, and I'm very hopeful that we will come to a partnership where we can be supportive and play a role that is most appropriate for the project.
Okay, one more question about that. One of the issues that Mayor Leffingwell has conveyed to the media just this past week during the exhibit of the urban rail car at the Palmer Events Center was that, as he put it, there is a trust issue with Capital Metro, with the ability to operate rail. And I guess the Metro rail line, the red line, it may be the example, it may be the litmus test to decide whether this agency can handle an urban rail system in addition to the commuter rail. How do you address that? How do you move along and improve the trust, the public trust, as well as the trust of other elected officials in this area within the next 2 years once this all gets moving, if it does?
Every day when I get up, I think about what can we do as an agency to improve the credibility of this agency. And it's something I instill with every single employee, and every decision we make, everything we do, moves towards operating more efficiently and providing the highest quality service. And that's part of changing the organizational culture. So that's one of my biggest goals. I think about it constantly, and I'm hoping that you will see, the community will see changes that do instill trust and confidence in this organization. As I said, we have a tremendous amount of talent. We need to improve some of our business practices and also our business infrastructure, if you will. But I think we can do that, and I think we can make some significant improvements in how we do business.
Anything else that you would like to say?
I want people to know that my two highest priorities are raising the bar within the organization and improving credibility in the community, and we're working very hard to try to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Appreciate your time. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to it again.
Okay.